Hello and welcome. I'm Mark Reynolds, and today we bring you a story of survival, resilience, and hope. Joining me is Sarah Chen.
Thank you, Mark.
Today, we'll talk about an unforgettable journey of a young woman named Nora, who fought against unimaginable hardship at home and found the strength to break free.
Mark, I have to warn our listeners. Nora's story contains disturbing elements of child hardship, domestic suffering, and trauma, but it's also a powerful tale of survival and strength.
Let's begin at the beginning. Sarah, tell us about Nora's early life.
Nora's childhood was shattered early on. After her mother's death, her father remarried, and that's when the nightmare truly began. Her stepmother was cruel and abusive, constantly telling Nora she was worthless, just like her mother. The verbal mistreatment quickly escalated to physical suffering.
And where was her father during all of this?
That's the most heartbreaking part, Mark. Her father was there, but he turned a blind eye. He didn't just ignore her. He let his new wife torment his own daughter.
I can't imagine the psychological impact that would have on a child to have the one person who should protect you simply ignore your suffering.
It makes you feel like you're nothing. When you're that young and the people who should love you treat you like you don't matter, you start to believe it. For Nora, every night was a new wound, a fresh reminder that no one was coming to save her.
So what was the breaking point for Nora?
After years of suffering, one night changed everything. When her stepmother threw a plate at her in a fit of rage, something inside Nora finally broke. She knew then, if she stayed, nothing would ever change. So that night, she packed a small bag and slipped away while the house slept.
She ran away.
Yes, with just the clothes on her back and whatever she could fit into that small bag, she slipped out into the night. She had no destination, no plan. She just knew she needed to get away.
Freedom, even into uncertainty, must have been overwhelming.
Absolutely. As she walked through those dark streets, each step took her further from her prison. The physical weight of that house seemed to lift with every block, but she was just a young girl alone at night with nowhere to go.
And this is where fate intervened.
Yes. She spotted a small diner with a flickering neon open sign. She hadn't eaten in a day, and she needed somewhere safe, even if just for an hour.
Tell us about what happened when she walked into that diner.
The moment she stepped inside, the atmosphere changed for her. The smell of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon, the warm glow of the lights. It was like stepping into a whole new world. But more than anything, for the first time in years, she felt something unexpected kindness.
From the waitress?
Yes, a woman named Martha with silver streaks in her hair. Martha immediately sensed something was wrong. Nora was clearly hungry and injured, trying to hide her injuries as she slipped into a booth.
And there was someone else there too, wasn't there?
Yes, a man named Joe entered the cafe. He could see what was happening too. There was this moment of silent understanding between Joe and Martha. They'd seen this before. The signs of hardship were all too familiar.
It's remarkable how sometimes strangers can see what family chooses to ignore.
Exactly. Unlike her father, these strangers didn't turn their backs on her. Martha returned to Nora's table with a surprising offer, a dishwashing job, and a room upstairs if she needed a fresh start.
A lifeline.
More than that, Mark. For the first time in years, Nora felt something she thought was long gone hope.
So the diner became her sanctuary.
It became her whole world. Joe and Martha were like the family she never had. For weeks she worked there, slowly healing, finding comfort in this little sanctuary far from the chaos of her past.
But safety never lasts forever, does it?
Unfortunately, yes. Just as Nora was beginning to rebuild her life, a mysterious man walked into the diner. Tall, with intense eyes that seemed to carry secrets. Something about him made Nora uneasy.
What exactly?
The way he watched her as if he knew her somehow. He became a regular customer, always sitting in the same booth, always watching her. And then one day he said something that shook her to her core.
What did he say?
He told her he needed to speak with her about her mother.
Wait, what? Her deceased mother?
Yes. Before Nora could ask about it, some customers arrived, and he told her they'd talk later, but later never came.
What happened instead?
That evening, as Nora took out the trash, a van pulled up. Some masked men jumped out. Before she could react, rough hands grabbed her, dragging her toward the open doors. Suddenly, Justin appeared, fighting to stop them, but he was outnumbered. The last thing she saw was his desperate struggle before the van doors slammed shut, sealing her fate.
And who were these men? Who sent them?
As we'll discover in our next episode, this incident opened a door to secrets about Nora's past and her family that she never could have imagined.
So when Nora woke up after being taken, where did she find herself?
The room looked like something out of a fairy tale or a nightmare, and standing there, like a G from her past, was the last person she ever expected to see, her father, Henry. The man who had once abandoned her to her stepmother's cruelty was now smiling and saying, "Welcome home."
And he had something important to tell her?
Yes, he told her that her mother wasn't who Nora thought she was, and neither was Nora herself.
A cliffhanger that will lead us into our next episode. Sarah, what do you think draws people to Nora's story so powerfully?
It's the universal truth of her journey, betrayal by those meant to protect, the courage to walk away from abuse, and the way strangers become family when blood ties fail. But most of all, it's about the strength to keep moving forward no matter what.
Join us next time as we continue saving Nora. I'm Mark Reynolds, and we'll be back with our second episode with our Sarah Chen. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow our channel for the next episode and more gripping stories. See you next time.